Yo, what is going on? I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this live stream. Today, we're going to talk about some interesting topics. My name is Marcus, and here we do attorney reactions to current events and trending news. As always, I appreciate everybody who tuned in for the support. A shout out to the community and a big shout out to the channel members. Now, we're going to talk about a few stories today. We're going to talk a little bit about the government, 50-year mortgages, me having to go back to work, the back pay situation, Antonio Brown, a guy who got forced into being a a guy who was sex trafficked, which is a wild story. Not saying it can't happen to guys, but it's just a wild story. And we're gonna close it out by talking a little bit about a TikTok star who paid 1.5, well, potentially have to pay $1.5 million for her husband. All that and more. If you get some value out of this content, like, share, subscribe, comment. So before we even dive into the videos, hey, the shutdown is over. If you seen my video, it was ended. The Democrats 10, I think, flipped and agreed to the terms, which were essentially the same terms they got during the original CR. So it long story short, I personally think they folded, but I get it. People were struggling, they needed finances. I get all of that. So I'm gonna tell you, I don't want to come off as a little bit insensitive, but I was hoping we could get like 2 more days. Like we needed 2 more days. Going back to work on a Thursday after not working for like 40 some days is actually kind of wild. Like people were gone 40 some odd days, 43 days, weren't at the office, weren't working. And when it was time to come back Thursday, they put in leave. They was like, nah, I come back Monday. So I get it. But me personally, I remember I was watching the news last night and I was like, man, they signed this thing at 7:45. Hopefully President Trump sleep right now so he won't sign it till tomorrow. But hey, it didn't work out. He signed it immediately. The back pay situation ended up working itself out as I knew it would. I just always suspected that back pay wasn't going to be an issue. You could try paying not paying 750,000 federal employees back pay if you want, but for every federal employee, that's about 6 people. 750,000 times six. Let's say 3 of those are adults. That's a lot of people who are going to be impacted. I just knew that it was the political consequences of not giving federal employees back pay was too harsh. Now, there are some people out there who say, oh, they shouldn't be entitled to back pay. When you're in the private sector, you don't get back pay. But in the private sector, you get laid off generally for two things. Well, three things: performance, cutbacks, or companies want to increase revenue and decrease costs as it relates to reducing the actual staff of employees. In the federal government, you get laid off because, I mean, there was plenty of work. If I told you how many new cases I had in 43 days, you would be like, this is crazy. How many calls came in? How many new cases were filed? How many legal requests were made for information on A, B, C, D, E? The work didn't stop. But in the federal government, you essentially get furloughed, not because of productivity, not because there's no work, but because people are having a you know what swinging contest trying to argue about who has the smallest Johnson or something. That's what it seemed like to me. But I think it was just too much political capital at risk to not pay federal employees. So federal employees will be getting paid. TSA is going to get a lump sum of 70% of their back pay, I think, within 48 hours. Other agencies are trying to give people their cash by early next week, no later than Wednesday next week. So people will get their cash. Everything will go back to normal. The problem is the budget is only essentially continued to January 30th. So it's actually it's plausible that this whole thing can happen then, but let's hope not. But nothing's out of the realm of possibility. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about, since we're talking about the government, is mortgages in a 50-year mortgage. President Trump had a conversation where he threw out there that he's going to change the housing game and make things more affordable by offering a 50-year mortgage. 50-year mortgage. You know what a mortgage is? Is the The root word is morgue, death. Like death agreement is what it interprets to. But 50-year mortgage is crazy. He actually had a picture of President Roosevelt who introduced the 30-year mortgage, and beside his picture who introduced the 50-year mortgage. I don't know anybody who thinks this is a good idea. If you think this is a good idea, let me see. I jumped on to see if other people think this chick wasn't where her support guard is. Nah, you crazy. You crazy. Nah. So I don't know. A 50-year mortgage isn't good in any way. 30 years actually kind of suck, to be fair. Yeah, but most people with a 30-year mortgage, you could probably make 2 or 3 transactions, jumping homes, maybe an upgrade if you don't go outside of your means, and still eventually near your retirement years, if you plan right, end up with a paid off home. A 50-year mortgage, people ain't gonna never pay that shit off. They're gonna get that, they're gonna move in, get one house, and just be stuck. Foreclosures are already up 20% on the year. I just think it's terrible. I actually kind of broke down the numbers. Long story short, a $500,000 mortgage at about 4.25% with 20% down, it came up to about $2,400 a month. Now, not counting PMI and insurance costs. $500,000 mortgage, 50-year term, 4.25%, 20% down, it came up to $2,100. So it was a $300 per month saving. I know people think, oh man, that sounds great. But over the life of the loan with a 50-year mortgage, you would pay over $1.25 million in interest. Versus with the 30-year mortgage, it was something to the effect of 400 and something thousand or something to that effect. It was hella less money. So I'm not a fan of a 50-year mortgage. This actually was a concept that was floated in California because their housing crisis was so terrible. Also, there was discussion of a 15-year car loan term. Like, the shit just getting crazy. I would recommend people generally stay away from a 50-year mortgage if you can help it. I just don't see any cons to it. Increasing the mortgage term isn't going to fix the problem that housing is unaffordable. That's the issue. There has to be something done to address affordability in housing. Let's just stretching the shit out. It's like, hey, you could get this Dodge Charger 100-month term. Like, no, the shit is just ridiculous. So I don't think that is a good idea for anyone. Now let's go ahead and jump into these stories. This first story we're going to talk about, and we talked about this on the channel before. Human trafficking is a real thing. It impacts men, women, minors, a lot of persons who, just end up having to do things that they don't want to do or against their will because they just are in bad situations. Let's check out this story. This was an interesting human trafficking story. I had some questions, but I don't want to. I don't want to. You know what? Let's just play it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let's see if we have the same questions, and I'll leave it at that.
Tonight, a man says 2 women kidnapped him at gunpoint and forced him into sex work.
Court records backing up the victim's story, and he's sharing it only on 13. ABC 13's Luke Jones is live at the Harris County Jail detailing those 6 days of terror, Luke.
Yeah, what a terror it was. So far, the only charges are aggravated kidnapping, but this man says...
All right, only charge, aggravated kidnapping, 2 women at gunpoint. They actually going to do an interview with the guy, actually.
In reality, he was really the victim of sex trafficking. Masterminded, he says, by a woman who called herself Cookie, operating out of a North Harris County motel.
Like, it was really ghetto. It was scary.
A young man who still shudders when he thinks about all he endured. For almost a week, he says he was held captive in a room at the Regency Inn on Cypress Station near FM 1960. Forced, he says, to have sex for money. We're blurring his face to protect his privacy.
It was a lot of crackheads, like a lot of them, like a lot of sketchy homeless people.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, I mean, it's completely plausible. Um, it's completely plausible. I mean, hey, he's saying it happened, even though there hasn't been sex trafficking charges yet. He says it happened, but I don't know. Like, one thing, I understand if people scared for their life. I get it, but like, some people have crimes perpetrated against them, and they just do it in silence. Like, I don't know. Like, if I'm in a situation where somebody like got a gun to my head and they robbing a place, and or like it's daytime and you at a hotel, like I'm not dying just quietly, or you're not going to be able to take advantage of me just quietly. I'm sure there was other people there. I know they was in the hood, but like I don't know. Like, again, that's hey, I'm not judging this dude. He's not me, but this story is fucking crazy.
He says he never imagined for himself when the Harris County Sheriff's Office says he was sucked into October 18th. That's when they say one of the victim's friends, Esmeralda Pena, invited him to the Regency.
She said that she had a job for me, like she was gonna help me make some money because I didn't have a job.
Once here, he said.
Did they say how old this young man was? I don't think I heard how old he was. But the other part of it is like you randomly met again, not victim shaming, but you got to use a little bit of smarts here. You randomly meet this woman, and this woman don't look like I mean, I don't know. She was just giving me creep vibes. A random woman like, hey, I got a job for you. Come with me. Like, it's not going to end well. It's not. They're not going to have you selling knives or vacuum cleaners door to door.
She was gonna help me make some money because I didn't have a job.
Once here, he says he was introduced to this woman, Herbanique Forrest. Although when they met, he says she was.
Now, if the first woman didn't give you cause to pause, this woman right here, aka Cookie, should have give you like you should have turned around, did a complete 180, and just hauled the fuck ass out, hauled ass out of there. I mean, like the first woman, maybe like okay, like maybe like hey, I got some work you could do. I don't know how she approached him. They didn't have guns at the time because he was like, I didn't have a job, so I wanted to see what was up. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I could see how he was like, I don't know what it is, like he thought it could have been something potentially legit. He could have thought it was going to be maybe she wanted a sheet clapping session and do some payola or something. It could have been anything. And it's a given sketch to me, but I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt here. But when assailant number 2 popped out from behind the curtain under the bridge, wherever she popped out from, the red flag would have been up for me to get the fuck out of there immediately.
Woman, Herbanique Forrest. Although when they met, he says she went by a different name.
Her name was Cookie.
Cookie, he says, quickly said about signing him up for an escort site.
Now, her name was Cookie, like, I don't know, like, I don't know, like, I would have got the fuck out of there immediately as soon as she bent the corner. I'd have been like, oh, hell no. I thought I was selling Ginzu knives, but this shit is not what it purports to be. So he should have known something was up. And so far in this story, he kind of went voluntarily. At some point, he said there were guns involved, but at the beginning of this story, he said she had a job. He went there. Cookie popped out. Now they're talking about the escort site.
Says quickly said about signing him up for an escort site and told him he'd have to have sex with men for money. The next day, he says he saw an opportunity to escape and returned home. But just 4 hours later, deputies say a doorbell camera shows Pena and Forrest at the victim's front door, this time with an armed man.
All right, you know what? Let me finish playing this part because I might miss something. I don't know. I ain't watched all this video.
Investigators say they and Nixon Simmons forced him into a car at gunpoint.
Cookie started beating me, and she was like, don't I ever leave again.
All right, so what do we know about this? Because I just, some things it has to make sense to me. And I'm not saying that his plight isn't a legit plight, and he probably was scared shitless, and everybody isn't going to react the same. But you have a Ring camera, clearly. I heard the Ring chime on the doorbell. You have a Ring camera and you're in your house. They knock on the door. Now, maybe they were standing out there with guns. Maybe they weren't. But you have access to a Ring camera because they said the video camera showed them standing outside. Why the fuck did you even come to the door? I don't give a fuck if somebody's standing outside my door holding guns in hand. I'm not just gonna unilaterally on my own be like, oh man, they got guns on this Ring camera. I see them. Let me go out here and see what they want. Like, no, you should have stayed bunkered down in your house. Your door was already locked. Went to the basement, went upstairs, locked yourself in another room, got on the horn, called 911. I just think that there were other options that could have been done to potentially avoid having to go into cheat giving servitude. That's all I'm saying. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hey, if y'all interested in some good legal content, y'all check out AA Legal Focus. Great content over there. Yeah, I agree 100%, Kelly. I appreciate you too there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let me see. I'm not saying, hey, I'm just saying that there were red flags that, like, okay, trying to go get the money, that's cool. But when people knock on your door and they said the video Ring camera showed them at the door, why did he come to the door? I don't give a fuck if they have guns. I'd rather you have to try to break in my house with your guns to come get me than me open the door and go out and put myself in harm's way of the gun when you already know what they want you to do. You already know what it was because you got away. I'm not saying, again, this is probably, he seemed really young too. Like he may be, I don't know, 18, 19, something like that. But there were a lot of opportunities here where different decisions could have been made to potentially avoid putting himself back in harm's way.
Like if I ever leave, like she'll blow my brains out.
For the next 6 days, he says he was beaten, plied with drugs, and deprived of food. At night, he says he was expected to solicit men in this Ross parking lot, although he says he only ever slept with one.
I knew that if I made them money, they would keep making me work for them. They'll keep me around. So I just try not to sleep with anybody.
Even so, he says the experience left him drained, and at one point,
man, that's it. If they haven't charged him with trafficking yet, so we only going by what he's saying in his interview.
hoping Forrest would make good on an earlier threat.
Like a couple of days in, I kind of wanted her to kill me. Like I told her to kill me, like just get it over with.
In the end, he says it was his aunt who saved him. October 24th, he says he was able to text her using a phone he'd hidden from his captors, and that she picked him up during one of those nights out in the Ross parking lot.
I was just like,
he had a phone with him. So they come to his house. He see him on the Ring doorbell. He goes down, opens the door. Now he's back in harm's way. They have him. Days go by. He pulls out his phone that he sneaks, texts his aunt. His aunt comes pick him up when he walking around the Ross parking lot. All I heard was here was, dude, you had a phone. You had a phone with you, so you had a phone in the house at the time they came to your house. You can't insert yourself in the harm's way. Always, I mean, I don't know. Me personally, y'all gonna have to bust in my shit and come get me. I don't care if y'all got SKs, AKs, HKs. Y'all can have all sorts of arsenals. Y'all gonna have to actually physically come in my house and get me. He clearly had a cell phone because he actually used the cell phone after they came to his house and scooped him up and threatened him with firearms and everything like that. So, I mean, clearly this guy sounds like he's young, like clearly 18 or 19, but you can't, how can I put this? Like, you can't, like, get harmed in silence. Sometimes the best thing you could do is raise some hell. Like, if somebody dropped you off in the goddamn Ross parking lot, and I know they said they were there, did they say a specific time? But man, I'm in the parking lot. You could raise hell. There's other stores there. You could yell and scream. Like, I get it, but they're already threatening your life. I mean, that's just kind of my take. Everybody reacts different to pressure situations. Again, age, experience, confidence, ability, skill set, all of that goes into play. But this is actually a wild ass story.
Yeah, this is not a good place to be at.
And the victim says he wasn't the only one forced to do this. One of the suspects, Esmeralda Pena, also beaten and made to walk the streets, he says. Right now, this case still under active investigation.
That's actually this sounds fishy. Nah, you said I was victim blaming. I'm just trying to say where the young man could have made some adjustments. And you said I was victim blaming. I'm just saying that, like, come on, every decision that could have put you in harm's way, he made the wrong decision that could have put him in further harm's way. That's all I'm saying. They come to your house with guns. You see them on a ring camera. You come down, open the door. You go away. 2 days later, you text your aunt from your phone. Again, it could have completely happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. They haven't been charged with sex trafficking. The cops don't even have the evidence to support this allegation because they haven't charged them yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one play out. But yeah, having the phone for days after you voluntarily came downstairs and opened the door is giving confusing to me. That's all I'm saying. It's kind of confusing me. I don't know. I don't know how to interpret and or take this story. Now let's take a pivot real quick and talk about Antonio Brown. Like, I don't know if you all are familiar with Antonio Brown, but it's actually a part of this story that's not a part of this story, but it's actually even crazier when you think about it. But Antonio Brown at one point was probably considered like a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, drafted by Pittsburgh, was nice, got traded because he was a problem in the locker room. Some headaches came, went to Tampa Bay, won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, the GOAT. It got kind of crazy. But Antonio Brown always had a way to find himself into silly situations. At one point, he was sued because he was throwing furniture off the balcony of like his 14th story condo, and the furniture almost hit like a 2-year-old who was walking down below. Another point, he didn't want to pay a guy who worked for him, so he whooped the guy's ass. He ends up selling out of court for like $1.2 million. So trouble always seemed to kind of find him. Some people said he took a devastating hit in the NFL that, damn, I thought he was dead when he got hit. So some people say, man, it's CTE. Some people say it's traumatic brain injury from the NFL. Some people say it's stupidity. Some people say it's a combination of both. Some say it's either or. But Antonio Brown finds himself now looking at potential attempted murder charges. Let's go ahead and take a look at the story and see what we can gather. He is out on bond after he was extradited from overseas. Let's take a look, see what AB has going on.
Right now, an arrest warrant for former NFL wide receiver Antonio Brown. This in connection to a shooting that happened last month during a celebrity boxing event in Miami. Local 10's Rosh Lowe live in Hollywood with more on what he's accused of doing. Rosh.
So here's the big question this afternoon, shortly after 5 p.m. Where in the world is Antonio Brown? If you believe X, according to his account, he's somewhere riding a bicycle in the Middle East. You'll see video of that in a moment. Bottom line is, police are looking for him.
Now, at this point, initially, after this incident, they didn't consider him a fugitive because apparently it was a pre-planned trip that he had to the Middle East. So when he was riding a bike at this time, he technically wasn't a fugitive.
Antonio Brown is a wanted man, wanted by the cops for attempted second-degree murder. Cops want to catch the former NFL wide receiver, and here's why. At about 3 o'clock in the morning, May 17th, Miami police respond to 221 Northeast 67th Street, a shots fired call. Police questioned several people but made no arrests. No injuries were reported at the scene. Video posted to social media showed Brown involved in a fight with several people at the boxing event, which was hosted by popular streamer Aiden Ross. He was seen apparently holding a black pistol as he pursued someone. Shots could be heard off camera shortly thereafter. According to the warrant, the man Brown was allegedly after was Zul Kwarneen Kwame Nantambu.
God damn, that name crazy. So AB at a boxing event, he clearly getting some shit. You see they got a fist fight going on. At some point, he has a firearm. He actually runs into the fray towards whoever he's having this issue with. Shots are fired. Now, they actually do an interview of, I'm not repeating that guy's name because it was crazy work, the alleged victim in this case, and he talked about how he almost got shot in the neck and all of this other stuff.
Brown initially fought one-on-one before two people jumped in to attack the alleged victim. Police say several security staff members intervened to break up the brawl, and Brown is seen on video grabbing one of the security guards' guns and then chasing after the alleged victim with it. In the warrant, the alleged victim says he got into a verbal altercation with Mr. Brown, which escalated when Mr. Brown punched him in the face. He further stated that as he attempted to defend himself, several additional people began to strike him until security separated all parties. As he was exiting the building, he noticed Mr. Brown began to run towards him with a firearm in his hand. The alleged victim said Mr. Brown proceeded to shoot at him, possibly grazing him in the neck.
I don't know what that means. Possibly grazing him in the neck. You either got grazed in the neck or you didn't. So that's kind of confusing.
Placing him in fear for his life.
Almost, maybe.
We have been in contact with law enforcement throughout.
So this is what AB is currently under heat for, okay? He got into a little altercation or an altercation. He took the security guard's gun. All of that actually sounds crazy as hell. Now, he was ultimately extradited. Let's take a look to follow up to this story. I actually think today, if I'm not mistaken, he's made bond. And his attorney is saying that he has a great self-defense argument, which is one that I would like to hear because just based on the video and what we know at this point, I don't know. You take a security guard gun and you run towards the drama. I'm not saying it can't be self-defense in that situation, but that's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. You running towards it and you saying it's self-defense is kind of making a little. It's not sounding right. It's not passing the smell test. Let's take a look at the update on this before we talk about some of the nuances, what he would have to prove, and how would the officers investigating this case actually prove the case.
And now at 10:36, after months on the run, former NFL wide receiver Antonio Brown is in police custody and will be brought back to Miami. Brown's warrant for attempted murder was issued earlier this year, but the Miami native couldn't be found. That is, until his own social media postings helped police track him down in Dubai. CBS News Miami's Joan Murray joins us from outside of Brown's Fort Lauderdale home with the details.
That's former wide receiver Antonio Brown pedaling through the streets of Dubai, posting on social media.
So if you are wanted for a crime and you go somewhere and you bragging about being away, potentially avoiding custody, the best thing you could do, and I'm not trying to tell anybody how to commit a crime, we're just talking a little common sense here, is go somewhere where they don't have extradition. U.S. Marshals went to Dubai to go pick his ass up. They went to Dubai. You know how much that costs to go pick Antonio Brown up. So he was issued a bond today. He ultimately made his bond, and his defense attorney said he has an outstanding self-defense argument. Generally, we always talk about this. For a self-defense argument to be valid, you have to prove that you were in immediate harm or danger of potentially losing your life or severe bodily harm. There was a verbal altercation. He takes the security guard's gun, according to the facts we have. chases after the guy. Shots are fired, and the guy says he almost, essentially, possibly hits me, grazes me in the neck, all because of a verbal altercation. Now, this is the craziest part of this story that's not a part of this story. I don't know if y'all know Antonio Brown's background, but he was always kind of a head case. He was with Pittsburgh. They let him go because he was acting crazy. Tom Brady leaves New England after winning all these championships, goes to Tampa Bay and says, I want this guy as my wide receiver. This is what's crazy, and it has nothing to do with this story. Tom Brady, NFL GOAT, greatest quarterback of all time, takes in Antonio Brown and let Antonio Brown actually stays at his house. I wouldn't let Antonio Brown stay at my house. I wouldn't let Antonio Brown come to my cookout. Like, Tom Brady invited this guy to his house because he wanted to play football that bad. That's how I knew that Tom Brady gave more about football than he did anything else, because he invited Antonio Brown and let him stay with him during the entire fucking season just because he knew that the guy could play fucking football. Of course, it ended up ending bad, but shit, he won a championship. So the thing that's going to be an issue, they have video footage of Antonio Brown having a firearm and actually running towards the dangerous situation. In Florida, there's no duty to retreat. We get that, but running to a dangerous situation that you've already removed yourself from because of distance, because you're over here, the other guy's all the way over there, running to it is something that's not going to be favorable in asserting any type of self-defense. Now, I'm not saying he can't assert self-defense. You could have a firearm in hand, run towards somebody, and when you bend the corner, that person has a firearm in their hand. We don't know if that's the case, but right now, the gentleman is saying he didn't have a firearm. Only shots were fired were Antonio Brown. All of those fucking people out there, there has got to be some witnesses as to what actually happened that's outside of Antonio Brown and the alleged victim's story. So what I'm suspecting that they're going to do is try to talk to other witnesses, get other video surveillance footage to see if they can identify what happened or corroborate either Antonio Brown's version of the facts or the alleged victim's version of the facts. One thing that they could have done, but they really didn't have the time to do it because Antonio Brown immediately went missing. He was on vacation, then he was in Dubai. But sometimes in these situations, if they can make an arrest relatively soon, they'll do look for gunshot residue, do a GSR screening to see if the person who's the alleged perpetrator has fired firearm recently. GSR test doesn't necessarily mean that you did or didn't do something, but it pieces up the story together. We know he took the gun. We know he ran out with the gun. We heard shots fired, but technically we don't know where those shots were fired from. The GSR residue, when you fire a gun, is a shitload of GSR residue that's going to be on your fingers, on your hand, versus somebody who's holding a gun and didn't shoot a gun. So they could have used information like that to piece it together, but because Antonio Brown went missing, it just wasn't favorable. Let's see, real quick. What? He cloned his dog. Antonio Brown is a special case. He needs help. That dude definitely needs help. Now we're going to take a turn to my old stomping ground, the courthouse where I cut my legal teeth when I was a young pup in the legal game, getting all my experience and all these gems from all these seasoned high-speed attorneys. We're going to go to Durham, North Carolina, and we're going to talk about this girl got Fantasia. If y'all know about Fantasia's situation, but she had an affair. It ended up in a lawsuit. She ended up having to pay all of this money. So let's go ahead, take a look at the video, see what happened. We're going to talk about alienation of affection. What is it? Why very few states have it? Why is it still around? Is it a good or dumb law? and what are some of the defenses to alienation of affection. So let's go ahead and jump into our main story for the night and dive in.
An affair, a TikTok star, and a $1.75 million verdict that nearly ended with a fight outside the Durham County Courthouse. That was not the fight. That was the joy inside the courtroom. We're talking about the case of North Carolina TikToker Brene Montague. She was sued by her now husband's ex-wife. Tonight, a jury found Montague liable for destroying the couple's marriage. WR's Eric Miller was in court and has the story.
$1.75 million is crazy. Like, I don't know how big she is on TikTok, but TikTok, I qualified for monetization on TikTok, but I just was like, TikTok money kind of funny, and it was just too much work, so I passed. It's just too many people dancing on there for me, but that's a lot of fucking money to have a judgment against you, all because you got some cheeks. Now you see everybody over there clapping. Those are clearly all audience members. And everybody who is happy in this room, you could tell they won, clearly there for the plaintiff in the case who filed the lawsuit. That's one. And boy, those some happy ass women. I never seen so many women happy. Look at this sister right here. She's screaming like her team just won the Super Bowl.
That's the sound of a $1.75 million cheer, coming just moments after court was adjourned. Akira Montague embraced her attorney, Robinetta Jones, as dozens of supporters yelled from the sidelines.
She has received justice from losing her husband and the father of her children.
Akira Montague's lawsuit, filed in Durham County Court, accuses Brene Montague, an influencer with nearly 3 million.
So she probably is getting 3 million followers on TikTok is a shitload of followers. If she monetizing that shit correctly, she probably got merch and some more shit that she's selling. Like, yeah, she probably 3 million followers. Even if 10% are really tuning in, she probably making some decent money.
Seducing and having an affair with her then husband, Tim. That affair then turning to marriage when Brene and Tim wed.
Now this is interesting. They had an affair, and hey, that's actually not uncommon. Affairs happen and people subsequently get married after the affairs. Now, I'm assuming, I would like to know when this lawsuit was filed, and they may say it in this video. Was the lawsuit filed before they were married, but after she had knowledge? It clearly was filed after she had knowledge of the affair. But I want to know, was it filed before they were married or after they were married? If I had to guess, I'm thinking she probably was like, it's one thing to take my man, but now you're gonna murder this fool too. I'm just guessing. I don't know. If y'all know, let me know in the comments. But I'm guessing that after they jumped that broom, she went to the courthouse immediately. It was like, oh hell no.
Suit, Akira Montague claimed Brene used her online influence as a weapon. The affair also caused damage to her health and deprived her kids of a 2-parent household.
And it was nothing but lies.
Brene Montague, who represented herself in court, slammed the verdict, saying Akira Montague knew her marriage was over and allowed the affair.
All right, so let's talk about this real quick. Why is it important, or why is it important, or why is it a key fact that she's saying that, hey, the wife knew everything was over? Let's go ahead and talk about it real quick. Alienation of affection is a civil tort that allows a spouse to sue a third party, usually the person accused of having an affair with their husband or wife, for wrongfully interfering with their marriage and causing the loss of love, affection, and consortium. Eventually, it's a lawsuit for stealing someone's spouse's affection. Now, in order for this to be a claim, there has to be 5 elements. 1, there has to be an actual valid marriage. 2, love and affection actually existed. The marriage had genuine love and affection prior to the alleged interference. 3, the love and affection was alienated or destroyed or diminished. 4, it was wrongful conduct by the defendant. The defendant's intentional or malicious actions directly cause the alienation, such as seducing, enticing, or pursuing the spouse, and causation. The defendant's conduct was the controlling of a substantial factor in the loss of affection. Now, it's only in very few states, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5 possible damages. You can get compensatory damages for humiliation, emotional distress. Punitive damages to punish the defendant are rewarded if the defendant acted with malice, deceit, or reckless disregard for the marriage. Like, hey, it's just open and egregious, just showing up all crazy hours of the day. Awards can range widely, with some verdicts often, as we see in this case, exceeding $1 million. Now, typically, there are a few common defenses. Defendants typically use several key defenses to fight alienation of affections. One is lack of causation. Essentially, what they're saying, and when she said the marriage was already damaged and she was aware of it, she's using the defense of lack of causation, saying that the marriage was already failing before she even got involved and no affection was even existed, so I couldn't alienate it. For example, text messages are evidence showing that the couple was separated or in counseling long before the affair. Another defense is no wrongful conduct. The defendant didn't act with malice or intent to interfere, i.e., it was a friendship, a workplace contact, or innocent association. Oftentimes, that's just not enough. And I'll be honest, a jury not going to give a fuck about that at all. Consent or collusion. She also said that the wife was aware of what was going on. If the plaintiff encouraged or condoned the relationship, or if the spouse freely let it happen, that can undercut the liability of the defendant. And also statute of limitations. As with most offenses, there's statute of limitations. In most states for this offense, it's a 3-year statute of limitations. $1.75 million is a lot of fucking money. I don't know. That's a shitload of money to have. I don't know. This dude must be amazing for 1.5. She appears very voluptuous on TikTok. I know I need to look. Yeah. How he's going to downgrade though. How you gonna say it's a downgrade? Like how you saying it's a downgrade? What, you just going off of aesthetics and look? But hey, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Everybody values something different. Some guys value looks. Other guys, like, you know, like he may value those 3 million followers she got, that bag that she getting. I don't know. But that's crazy. How's he going to downgrade? That's terrible. All right, let's go and finish checking this out.
Akira Montague knew her marriage herself in court, slammed the verdict, saying Akira Montague knew her marriage was over and allowed the affair.
She gave her consent. She said it was okay because she knew her marriage was over with and it was done.
But the jury didn't agree, awarding Akira Montague the $1.75 million after more than 700 pieces of evidence were.
God damn, 700 pieces of evidence. Now, her saying that the wife agreed is very difficult if you don't have any evidence to substantiate that. Text messages, stuff like that. If you just saying it, it's going to be really tough for a jury to buy, unless there's maybe third-party witnesses that can corroborate that actually happened.
Presented in court, including some of Brene's own TikToks and texts.
That says that my client was telling the truth.
The case hinged on 2 rarely used laws, including alienation of affection.
It can be very hard to prove, and the reason is because it's hard to find a point in a relationship where the relationship necessarily started to go bad.
But in these videos and in the court testimony, the jury found that point, leaving Brene Montague with a hefty bill and no answer on how she'll pay.
I don't know, but she'll probably never see it.
Yeah, things not to say after you have a jury verdict rendered against you is they'll probably never see the money. She probably could have kept that comment to herself, but I'm pretty sure she's going to try to file some type of appeal for whatever basis that she want. But I don't know. We've seen this all the time. They happen a lot in North Carolina. The most famous one, I think, was Fantasia. I don't know how much did Fantasia have to pay for her alienation of affection? Let's look it up. Let's see. Let's see. How much does she have to pay? All right. Fantasia, the American Idol winner, was sued for alienation of affection by the wife of her boyfriend, Antoine Cook. This was in Charlotte, North Carolina, 2011. Oh, okay. So hers actually worked out. Okay, in her case, the court determined that Cook was legally separated from his wife before his relationship with Fantasia began, because North Carolina law requires the wrongful conduct to occur before the spouses separate. The judge found no basis for liability, so she did not have to pay any damages. Okay, so shout out to her. She waited till it was already over, or they were at least separated before she swooped in and did her thing. Shout out to Fantasia for being smart. I bet. Damn. You talk about victim blaming. This dude ain't even do nothing. He's just out here trying to find love, and you said, I bet he wasn't even worth it. That dude probably not even going to make $1.5 million in his lifetime. $1.5 million is a lot of money. He may not make $1.5 million, and she already on the hook for $1.75 million. That's actually, hey, I don't know. I don't want to condone that because you man bashing. But that's actually a good point. Shout out to you for dropping and making a very, 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 very valid point. But hey, the moral of the story is, shit can get real out here. You can be sued for a lot of shit. You may not know is an actual legal cause of action, but hey, y'all got be careful out in these streets. As always, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this story, this breakdown of what was going on. We'll probably dive into something tomorrow as well. As always, I appreciate y'all. I'm grateful for you all allowing me some minutes to take some of y'all time. Salute to y'all. Y'all be safe. Be blessed. Peace.